Hey, welcome back, everybody. I bring with me jquestionmark, who will be running Axe Battler Legend of the Golden Axe. So take it away and give me the countdown whenever you.
All right, sounds good. So there's a whole bunch of plots scrolling across the screen, though it's probably generous to call it that. I'll try to explain things as I go. Um, but all in all, this is a fun little spin-off from the Golden Axe series. So let's go ahead and progress to the start screen. We can get this show on the road. All right, so time starts in 3, 2, 1, go. So we start out with a nice black screen and some text explaining what's going on. The evil army has come in and stolen the Golden Axe, and for anyone who's never seen this game before, but is familiar with Golden Axe, is probably confused about the fact that it looks like we're playing Dragon Quest right now. The game's a little weird. It's a mishmash of a few different genres, none of which are a side-scrolling beat-em-up, so that's a thing. We've got our nice little castle and our overworld map, but the real meat and potatoes of the game comes in with a combination of random encounters that basically play out kind of like a fighting game, and side-scrolling dungeons. For anyone who has played the Golden Axe series and hasn't heard of Golden Axe Warrior as well, that one was a Sega Master System Zelda 1 knockoff kind of deal. This here Axe Battler is a Zelda 2-esque knockoff. It's a really fun game. I highly recommend it. Unfortunately, I'm doing terrible, and it's pretty dependent on RNG. So my times versus what actually usually happens in runs, or what's theoretically possible versus what usually happens in runs, is pretty drastically different. I'm going to stop talking quite as much for a moment, because I'm just messing up left and right here. Yeesh, we're in a bad way. That's alright. So, we get a bomb. Why there's a powerful bomb in that cave, I'm not really sure, but it's there. So now we need to, more carefully than normal, make our way to the next town. The game is not totally heartless. If you die, it's not just straight up game over, you just go back to the last town, but ideally we don't want to do that except when it's intentional, because it results in some pretty gross time losses. So, we start out in Castle Firewood, talking to the king, and we are now on our way to Firewood Town, which is behind a mountain range. I'm not really clear on why the two are associated with each other, even though mountains separate them. Maybe the evil army put the mountain there? I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, I see there's a question, is there a Zelda 3 knockoff? Sadly, no. Just Zelda 1 and Zelda 2. I would love to play a Zelda 3 knockoff that is Golden Axe related. That would be absolutely amazing. So we're already having some pretty rough RNG. The random encounters in this just kind of come when they want to. Everything within each side-scroller and fight plays out deterministically. If I do things the same, the game reacts the same, which is why that first dungeon area went so terribly bad. But the actual number of encounters you get into, yeah, it's weird. So yeah, it's worth noting, our good friend Axe Battler here uses a sword. Don't worry, I will never use an axe throughout the course of the game, just a sword, so we at least stay nice and consistent. You'll notice after each fight, I'm getting magic vases. This world has a magic vase-based economy. I couldn't hope to tell you what that's all about, but it is what it is, I suppose. The magic vases are used to buy time in the inn, to heal up, and also to cast spells. I don't know. I don't get it. It just happens. Oh, I can see it. Yeah, artistically, the game is your standard sort of 8-bit top-down thing most of the time. Stressing myself out here because I don't want to die on accident. Oh man, I would love to fight those old men. Those guys are jerks. I'll teach you this magical technique. Just, you know, fight this horrible foe that I have hanging out in the back room. I'm not sure what that's about. Axel. Bridges are auto encounters. There is no escaping them. It is possible to execute item use right before. Yeah, this is actually really bad. I'm having a super unlucky time here with this encounter rate. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is rough. That's okay. These things happen. For reference, my personal best and my sum of best are about a 7-minute difference, and in a run that usually goes under half an hour, it's pretty bad. There's a lot of RNG here. Oh, yeah. Anyone who enjoys the high jump, prepare to see me do that after every single fight. I can't stop myself. Yeah, I don't know what's up with the armor set here. Seems to be a lot of, like, leather kind of deal going on. But, So we just got our first upgraded attack, which is really nice. Yeah, Neo-Barbarian. The enemies in this are wild. It's fantastic. So now I can do 2 damage per hit in exchange for crouching and having kind of a terrible hitbox. But I can do 2 damage per hit. So I can theoretically save some time in fights. Yeah, the whole franchise does have some really great armor. Yeah, for anyone wondering why the first swing missed and the second swing hit, I don't know. I've run this game a whole bunch of times. The hitboxes are very consistent, but they don't necessarily make sense. Alright. That is more how we want our random encounter luck to go. So now we're in the Peninsula Tower. We just learned upper swing in Turtle Village. We gotta kill some statues that come alive. And some ghosts. It's a weird place. I mean, it's a fantasy setting, so I guess it all makes enough sense. Oop, that was wrong. That's a little better. And here at the top of this tower is a magic crystal. Yeah, the ghosts are pretty bad. I'd like to say I've gotten good at evading them, but those bomb guys always make it terrible no matter what. So usually I try to take a lot of damage there, mostly through poor play, and then continue warp back to town, since that was the last place I was. I didn't really take any damage at all, so we're going to save a little time by just heading straight back to Turtle Town on foot, ideally. I mean, I guess we could just get hit with tons of encounters, but... Alright, we throw the crystal into the sea, and now we see why it's Turtle Town, because we are on the back of a giant, presumably magical, I mean, I would assume, turtle. Yeah. Some jerk eagles. Okay, so for how bad everything's been going prior to now, this part's actually going pretty swimmingly. And we are here at the lovely town of Sand Marrow. Once again, we're going to go learn the new skill. So this one, technically, only 2 skills in this game are absolutely required: the high jump and another one later called tackle. I would really, really not like to speedrun this game without them. I have to imagine it would actually be a lot longer. This was one of the only games I had on Game Gear for a long time as a kid, so I played it a lot. I finished it. I finished it without cheats. It's probably a good explanation for my Stockholm Syndrome, like, love of it. So we're just stocking up on bases like crazy. Oh, jeez. Come back here, guy. There we go. Yeah, 2 attack for an air hit. It's also a much better hitbox, but it's so useless in encounters, generally speaking. See, the one hit and get knocked out of combat is actually really handy from a speedrun perspective when I'm not doing terrible at combat, because you can skip a lot of fights really quickly, and you don't get the, you got some magic vases when you get knocked out of combat. So, the pyramid, there's actually an enemy that only gets encountered here in the way that we don't go through the pyramid. I'm not going to go back and show you all, I'm sorry. It's just another jerk bird. We make our way through the pyramid to the town of Southwood, I believe? There's a lot of NPCs in all these towns, but we're trying to play this game fast, so we will be talking to none of them. But yeah, this town is particularly interesting because it has something you've probably seen in a lot of RPGs, which is this guy hanging out in front of a dock. And people in town specifically talk about how, and yes, that is how you're supposed to do the pyramid, you can go through and then go back, but it's really, really terrible and I don't recommend it. So, yeah, that guy standing next to the dock will just keep standing there forever. We never activate that dock in the game. It's just there. So, yeah, all those RPGs where you usually, you know, have to go on some little fun quest to do it, that's not a thing here. Yeah. Much better hitbox on this. I do not know what Bad Bra is supposed to stand for. I keep meaning to look it up in the manual. It seems really weird. Okay, so this area is pretty brutal. Yep. Like that. I'll do my best to not get myself destroyed here, but it's a no guarantees situation. That's pretty good. Some of these nice little hedgehog enemies that fall from the ceiling. I don't know, I don't really get it. I just try not to run into them. There's deadly, deadly fish. More hedgehogs. Oh, jeez. Alright, kill them. Oh, shoot. Okay, that's not how that's supposed to work out. Somebody need to thwack this guy. That's actually fine. So, that pyramid key is necessary for getting through here. Without it, there's a nice little cave that you just can't get past. I love that there are arrows that you can walk as fast as, or faster. Knights are the best enemy in the game, because they will never hurt me. I have to walk into their attack to get hurt. I guess I shouldn't say they will never hurt me, because I can definitely do it to myself. But they'll never do it on purpose. They're real nice guys. Just let me get some free magic bases off them. So this town, I need to talk to this soldier just hanging out in the middle of town, and he gives me a handy compass. What does the compass do? Well, we're going to take a trip out to the woods, and without the compass we would get hopelessly lost forever. Magic bases, I only need as much as I need to heal without wasting a boatload of time on continue abuse. So, no, not really. There's a couple areas where having magic bases is pretty much required to not have to do really risky stuff to get through the level, but I'm gonna... I don't know if the liquid in the vase is magic or the vase itself. Here's hoping I have 8 magic bases. Thank goodness. Yeah, the knights are fully equipped. Presumably they're probably just wearing the same sort of fantasy bondage armor underneath their full armor, but who knows for sure. Get out of here, brah. So we're coming up on my favorite area, and by favorite area I mean the most likely place for me to accidentally die. I can't not do it! It's just so much fun! So after this bridge fight, we're going into the maze woods, which is why we need the compass, because otherwise you just pop right back out onto the bridge. It's very unpleasant. I might die here. This area can be really trolly. But so far it seems to be going okay. Those statue enemies, yeah, do 2 damage a hit, which is real bad. But that's alright, we got through. Thank you, sir. Alright, so we're on our way to this... well, can't quite see it yet. We are on our way, if I could stop being interrupted by rude knights, to this tree in the... that's cool, we'll just... you know, thanks. We are on our way to this totally not suspicious tree in the middle of a circle that probably isn't important. So this tree has a piece of fruit. Presumably this world is so bad that that's the only piece of fruit. It's a pretty grim place. I don't know. It's rough. Oh, nice. That's what you want. Some real quick encounters. So this encounter right here, thank you, sir, will... wow, that guy's wearing nothing. Will take us right back to town, and we can head on our way to the final town, the town of North Valley. Unfortunately, there are 2 levels between us and the town of North Valley, and some really scary enemies after the level, so, you know, no pressure or anything, because the entire thing has to be gotten from here to the next town without dying. We'll just keep taking out these bad bras. So, yeah, here we're seeing, once again, some first-hand examples of how so much of this game is reliant on RNG. I could be getting through this so much faster if the fights didn't just keep coming. Of course, now that I'm talking about it, they don't. Thanks for making a liar out of me, game. So here's a fun little thing. totally intended, I'm sure. Alright, now we got some nice little random floating platforms. I mean, I'm assuming in a world of tons of magical vases, everything's pretty magical, so it doesn't seem that weird to me that there's floating platforms everywhere. That was not how we wanted to do that. That's okay. So since we have that fruit we call the eagle, otherwise we just appear outside the mountain again, which is a real bummer. That's fine, I guess. So there's a bunch of skeletons on this eagle's back. Seems like a weird place to be heavily infested with skeletons. But here they are. Alright, now we make our dangerous... Thanks. Well, okay, this guy's not dangerous. We make our potentially dangerous trek out to the final town. A death here means we go all the way back to the last town and have to do both those areas again, which would be a real bummer, but not a huge surprise. And here's, for Golden Axe veterans, as the American game lists him, Death Adder. In the Japanese version, his name has a big fun junior on the end. The great thing about Death Adder is, if he touches me, attacks me, anything, I instantly die. So, you know, no biggie. There is an item that makes it so that touching him only does 1 damage, but it takes time to go get, and that seems silly in a speedrun. So, now we're at the best part. We're at a level, we're coming up on a level with a, well, eventually we're coming up on a level with a instant death pit, something we all love, followed by a pretty brutal final area that has some really trolly moments that can send you back to the start. So unlike regular Knight, Neo Knights are giant jerks and will attack the heck out of me given half a chance. So we're hoping for lots of Neo Barbarians. This guy's okay. He is doing the technique from the final town that I did not bother to learn because it's basically useless for me. Because if I touch enemies, I get hurt. So there's not a lot of incentive to ever do an attack that drops me straight on top of an enemy. That's real scary. Yeah, it is possible to tackle into Death Adder Juniors and just die, because your invincibility frames run out while you're standing inside their hitbox. Oh, thank goodness. Hey buddy, thanks for showing up. So we're on to the second to last area. Unlike the last one, they don't come nice and back to back, but that's okay. This has a couple drops that if I take them, that's it. Oh, and avalanches that knock me off of platforms. It's possible to use the little tackle run to run across here. There's a task that does it. The idea of trying to do that in advance of the descending avalanche just terrifies the heck out of me, so I don't do it. Oh, this music's so good. So, some nice, you know, floating platform jumps above a instant death pit. Everyone's favorite. Sorry, I'm going to be quiet for a moment here. There's a fairly stressful part right here. Oh, thank goodness. Alright. So yeah. They really, really want to just knock me down right there. Leave me alone. There we go. Yeah, that final avalanche drops you not to an instant death area, but to an area that takes forever to recover from, and requires you to jump over the instant death pit again and run the avalanche again. It comes every time. So getting past that is good. Yeah, there's definitely resemblance between the Neo Knights and Master Chief. So I guess I should probably have a talk with Bungie about that. So we're hitting all the encounters. It's the good stuff. I really like to go into the final area with full health, especially since this is a marathon. If I make any mistakes, I don't want it to end, well, not end the run, but send me way back to the last town. Worth mentioning, in the Japanese version, if you don't bother to talk to the person in the password house in that last town, and you die, it sends you back to the prior town. Found that out the hard way while checking for version differences. Amusingly, other than, you know, the text, that's one of the only noteworthy version differences. Drop down here. So yeah, there's some really vicious spike situations going on here. Alright, so after this next room, which has some angry looking platforms, which I think are adorable, here is my most dreaded moment. I have to go on this cloud with a ton of arrows coming at me, all the way up to the top, and if I get hit, it's probably back to the start, like that. And here we go. Oof. I was hoping that wouldn't happen. Be a nice smooth run the whole way through, but hey, at least we only took one hit. Could be a lot worse. And nice thing, these platforms are not on a global timer, so everything resets to where it was. I have certainly done that enough times to be very thankful that that is the case. Ooh, okay, let's give that a second try. That's a little closer than I would have liked, but okay. Alright. I'd say we're free and clear, but honestly the rest of this area is still pretty mean. So we're immediately faced with a room that I have to jump at just the right time to not get spiked. Cool. Followed by a room that I can get through really fast if my movement is very optimal. Nice. Taken to a room with mirrors that try to send me back to the start. Because if you've gotten this far, why not? Here is a beautiful skip that makes this whole section a lot nicer. Doesn't make sense, don't worry about it too hard, there's magic mirrors everywhere. Doesn't seem like a big deal that I get to warp through the floor. And we'll just wait a moment for those spikes. And that is time. And for anyone who's expecting a super rad final boss fight against Death Adder, we're gonna have a polite conversation with him where, much like all the people in North Village that we didn't bother to talk to that are shocked that I got that far, he is also surprised that I was able to get here and says he's gonna kill me. But thank you for the GGs, people. Yeah! It's a ridiculous conclusion to a game after all of that. You know, I'll take no final brutal fight. That wasn't even too bad of a time loss with the fall there, so I hope people enjoyed that extremely weird Golden Axe spin-off. I know I more or less enjoy playing it every time.
Yeah, I certainly like that. Give me some feels for sure.
Yeah, there's I know that was pretty far underestimate. There's some really good music that only plays at the end coming up in a moment. I don't know if we want to let it play out for a couple to soak up a couple minutes or get moving on with stuff.
I think we probably should be getting moving on. I think we're just a little behind right now, but
Alrighty.
I still appreciate you coming out for the run. It was really good.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Sega systems are definitely drastically underrepresented in a lot of speedrunning marathons, so it's exciting to be a part of this. I feel like Game Gear is especially underrepresented in no small part because it's so hard to hardware capture from. Um, but yeah, hopefully people enjoyed that super weird run and super weird game, and I'll be back tomorrow morning, afternoon for one more game. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Righteous, thank you again. All right, so we are, don't go anywhere because we got a special treat coming up here. Next, we've got a marathon within a marathon, some marathonception by the Berlin Dude 1 of all 6 Wonder Boy games back to back. So you are definitely going to want to stick around for that. We're just going to have a quick restreamer change, so stream will drop for a brief moment, but don't worry, it'll be right back up, and we'll continue the action. So stick around.